Hi, my name is Nimi Hutnick and I am in the MA painting course at Wimbledon College of Arts. I'm a part-time student and this is my video diary. The date is the 12th of October 2017 and yesterday we went to a number of galleries which have opened my eyes to a huge number of art debates and themes. First, we went to the Serpentine Gallery where we saw Wade Guyton in South Kensington, where he explores blemishes in digital technology, screen and painting. This was very conceptual and left me untouched and unmoved. I had a little conversation with Geraint about how I believe that art needs to be about the portrayal of human emotion and the producing of human emotion, and this did nothing to move me. Of course, Geraint questioned the validity of what I was saying, and we had a very interesting discussion. We then went to the Victoria Miro in Oxford Circus, where we saw Henan Bass, particularly his Cambridge Climbers, which was very interesting to me because of my own Oxford connection. I studied at Oxford in a long time ago now, doing a doctorate in psychology. And this portrayal of undergraduate Oxford and Cambridge life sparked an interest, partly because it was very painterly, unlike the Wade Guyton stuff, which was very mechanical in my understanding. But there were things about it which put me off. You know, the black lines that he used to define the face, and I realized how often I do that in order to draw instead of paint. And I realized that this actually keeps the image as a 2D image rather than a 3D kind of image. Not that we are working on 3D. Also, his painting is extremely shiny, and I'm not sure whether I like this or not, but I really enjoyed his use of deep blue and red. I wish I was more informed about what the colors actually were. What I noticed was that Henan Bass was actually portraying human emotion, and this is what moved me. When you look at some of the faces that he was painting, all these young boys, young undergraduates in punts, their faces were sorrowful, their bodies were disconnected from each other, they looked stressed. So this was art for the uninformed. I will talk about the informed and the uninformed later because it emerged in a conversation with Geraint in the evening. I went then to the Chrysophiles stuff. Wonderful. I didn't spend long enough at it, but this morning when I was looking at the photographs, I realized that he paints religious themes, and these were little sketches which I will look at in much greater detail. Then I looked at the Kusama, Yayoi Kusama, one painting that was there in the Victoria Miro Gallery. And this was captivating to me, not at the time so much as because of the research that I did on her subsequently. I looked her up on YouTube, and it is very interesting to see that she lives in a mental institution so obsessed with her art that she needs to almost manage her madness. She's obsessed with polka dots, and the polka dots kind of overflow the canvas onto the walls and onto the floor and onto the spaces all around her. So very interesting woman. I will keep an eye on her because of my own relationship with cognitive behavior therapy and the managing of madness. Went next to the Jake and Dikos Chapman stuff at the Victoria Miro in Old Street. And these are tiny, jointly produced paintings, again, almost managing madness. Each of them are very detailed and portraying themes that are impossible for the for the onlooker to decipher. There are so many of them and such detail. So in a sense, we're looking at masses of paintings presented as one large painting. There is wonderful color, there's ridiculously horrendous themes, there's glitter, there's black and white, there's collage, and most importantly, there were the vests of life and death, which were portrayed a very potent image in this day of terrorism. Very interesting that they have jumped off the flat 6-inch by 4-inch postcard size canvas to producing bronze images. We went then to the Talar exhibition, which was about sex shops. Again, I needed to be briefed, partly because I am so uninformed. I needed to be briefed by the write-up that this was an exhibition about sex shops. But once one understood that, everything did fall into place. There was a painting with the huge title, Dirty Dick. And then there was another one with Paris Chic, and a third one with Venus. I was captivated by the Venus one because it seemed to abstract red and white striped stockings and a female vulva, and it's called Venus. And so I found Talar very, very successful in his portrayal of a theme, but also very exciting in his use of color. He also uses glitter, which I thought captured the sleaziness of the sex shop. And he's very rough in his application of paint. I have no real thoughts about that. We then went to the Idris Khan exhibition, and here again I looked up at these massive black paintings, huge big canvases of just black on black, different shades of black on black. And when one approaches some of these canvases more closely, you can see the detail that he has put into words covered with black paint, black words covered with black paint. And here again, it's totally impossible for the viewer to decipher what he's talking about. And later in a conversation with Geraint, I asked whether he did not think this was a bit of an exercise in futility, where nothing can be communicated to the audience unless you slowed time down so greatly and spent hours in front of one painting, which of course most people in an exhibition cannot do these days because of the crowds. So Geraint talked about slowing down time and art for the informed versus art for the uninformed. And I've come away thinking about art for the informed and art for the uninformed. We talked about, I mentioned to Geraint the fact that C.S. Lewis never became a professor at Oxford because he was writing for the general public, and this was not seen as good art. But actually the person who's lasted over time has been C.S. Lewis in his Narnia stories and things like that. And because we were talking about Idris Khan, Nick talked about Anish Kapoor and his attempt to patent Vanta black paint. Very interesting. I told the group about how Anish Kapoor has a workshop, his workshop just around the corner from where I live, and how I saw him the other day but didn't have the courage to go out and introduce myself to him. I was challenged on this by Gabrielle, and next time I see Anish Kapoor, I will go up and introduce myself. What's my conclusion about yesterday? Well, my own conclusion is that I feel that art or painting needs to be primarily directed at the uninformed viewer looking at an exhibition, standing in front of a painting for less than a minute. And I think if it communicates to the uninformed, it's achieved its purpose. But if it has layers beneath it that also talk to the informed about debates and art conversations, then it is doubly successful. Bye for now.